Greetings, poetry lovers. Well, it's time to do a close reading of our third Gerard Manley Hopkins poem. Here we have Pied Beauty. We spoke earlier about this one as one of three examples of his experimentation in form, a curtal sonnet. And so let's go ahead and get a read in here. Pied Beauty. Glory be to God for dappled things, for skies of couple color as a brinded cow, for rose moles all in stipple upon trout that swim, fresh fire-cold chestnut falls, finches' wings, landscape plotted and pieced, fold, fallow, and plow, and all trades their gear and tackle and trim. All things counter, original, spare, strange. Whatever is fickle, freckled, who knows how? With swift, slow, sweet, sour, a dazzle dim, he fathers forth whose beauty is past change. Praise him. Okay, so we know that what he's done with this curtal sonnet is he has taken the traditional Petrarchan form of the sonnet and compressed it from its typical octave followed by a sestet, or as you know, the octave takes the form of a double envelope quatrain with the rhyme scheme of A-B-B-A. And so he's taken that, and now we open with a sestet, or more properly, I think, is two tercets that are rhyming A-B-C. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at that. So we've got the A line, the cow is a B line, swim is a C line, wings is the A line, plow is B, and then trim is C. Okay, so strange, we continue on. We've got a D, but then he doubles back to the B line, and we have the C, and then change, the echo with the D line there, and then praise him. So your overall rhyme scheme then is ABC, ABC, and then DB, C, D, C. Okay? All right. So if we take a look at the ambitions of the poem, this is in essence it's a praise song. Which is appropriate, of course, because we know that sonnet comes from the Italian il sonetto, meaning little sound or little song. And so in a way, this is operating like a hymn to God. Pied, then, is an important concept for us. I think I talked about this yesterday with respect to God's grandeur. So pied means then to be of two or more colors in blotches, sort of in a variegated sense. Okay, so he begins with glory be to God for dappled things. So dappled and pied are two terms that are synonymous. They describe the same sort of thing. So one thing I want you to pay attention to as we mark this poem is that what he is giving you, for the most part, are visual images, okay? The things we see in the world around us. And yet he's elevating our sense experience through the use of the acoustic devices. So every line, you're going to have all kinds of chiming going on, whether it's the alliteration of the G in glory be to God, okay? It could be the O in glory and for, and the OR plays together, or, and then dappled things. And so now he's going to, so this M dash here is preparing us for, and notice what's beautiful about that, we talk about ways that you can end a line. So we could have ended it with a colon, but a colon would have suggested, as a colon does in terms of how it functions as punctuation, what precedes the colon is a general statement, and then what succeeds the colon is going to be specifics. But what he does here is that dash provides a sort of temporal quality. Okay, it draws it out in a way that a colon does not. A colon is the next to full end stop that a period is. Okay, so what he's going to now do is, he's going to give us a litany. Okay, so a litany is a list, and litany is a term that you often will hear used in with respect to religious, especially Christian settings. A litany is going to be a list of things that might be part of a prayer, might be part of a church service, these sorts of things. So he's going to give you these this litany. This is it's as though here is Hopkins saying out loud his prayers. Here's the things that I'm thankful for. Here's the things I'm going to glorify God for. Okay? So, for skies of couple color, as a brinded cow. Okay, now brinded, we know this from our poem yesterday. Brinded is a made-up word, a neologism. And here we go. And we know that one of the reasons that Hopkins makes these things up is because he is, in the things that he encounters in the world, often there's not a word that expresses the thing that he's describing in the way that he wants to express it. So he makes up a word that generally will combine ideas. Okay? So brinded, because to be brindled, that is a word that you will find in in Merriam-Webster. Brindled suggests a variegated pattern, but brinded, again, he's making up this word to express the inexpressible in the same way that figurative language does. Yes? Okay, so when he talks about skies, okay, so this is the tenor for the simile that's functioning here, and here is the thing that he is describing. How about that? And it's almost perfect when you think about it. There we go. Let me go get a light there. So you've got look at how the variegated splotches on the cattle, how that matches the image of the sky that's just above them. It's almost perfect. Okay, so if you're going to unpack that simile, then you're talking about the tenor is skies. And then the vehicle would be brinded cattle. Oops. Well, that point breaking reminds me that our annotations today are brought to you by the General Pencil Company Kimberly 525 HB. That HB should be a little, I'm being forced to sharpen in the middle of my talk. That graphite should be a little softer than that, not so ready to break. But anyway, we do what we can. Okay, so here we have the anaphora of for skies, for rose moles. All right, so what are rose moles? Rose moles then are this sort of reddish dots that you sort of pinkish dots that you will see on the sides of trout. And he skillfully combines the rose moles all in stipple. Okay, so what stippling is, this is an artistic term that involves, it comes from drawing, so it's going to be like drawing or engraving, those two occupations. And what you're doing is you're shadowing something, to shadow via making small dots. Okay, shadow via making small dots. So that's good to know. So for rose moles all in stipple upon trout that swim. So the idea of the stippling is marvelous, because if we're talking about God having done all these sorts of things, then it is God as the painter who is applying these colors, these variegated dots on the side of the trout. And you should also see the image echo of not just the colors, but also think of the scales on the side of the trout. And the scales represent something called squama. Okay, So here is a pictorial representation of squama. So this is that overlapping pattern that you get of, I'm going to go ahead and write that. So that overlapping pattern of scales that you get, okay, so it's which in and of itself mirrors or has an image echo to what waves look like on the surface of water. Isn't that fantastic? All those things that tie together, it's beautiful. Okay, so now fresh, fire, coal. Let's look at all that alliteration. Fresh, fire, coal, chestnut, falls, finches, wings. Okay. So if I were going to draw you a what does a finch's wing looks like? It's gonna be something like this. And a finch's wing is going to be, you're going to have like up here the rather bolder, the bolder markings, and then you'll see that it sort of drops down, and it's a little bit longer now as you get toward the end of the wing, and then a little bit here. And then it becomes a little tighter. So notice how that finch's wing looks. He's all about patterning here, even though there's this sense that the patterns are, if not random, at least they're varying. Okay. Okay. So from there, from the finch's wings, and that so you're going to want to write about the alliteration. And as I said, and I'm going to ask you a question about this on the quiz. The alliteration is providing a sound, the acoustic element, that is enhancing the sense experience that we are getting through the visual imagery that is creating. Okay? So now, landscaped, plotted, and pieced. More alliteration. Look at that. Fold, fallow, and plow. So we have the fold and fallow. Okay, so now what's that look like? Well, if you think about from a high place, or if you maybe have seen this from an airplane, if you've looked down at various places, say as you're traveling, it's especially obvious when you're going into the Midwest. Like when I used to fly to Denver to do running camps, I would see this all the time in summer. So this little this farmer's patch of land, you know, the way it looks from above is this kind of pattern, and here's maybe a farmer who is who's using his circular irrigation system to make something like that, and then maybe we've got a pattern that looks more checked here, and then we've got something that's, let's say, is a little bit broader. Okay, and so we get that sense of the landscape plotted in piece. But notice we got this shift. All this stuff here is all of God's work, and then here with that dash, and this includes within these M dashes. Okay, so this would all be parentheticals. Okay, in other words, you've got this material that relates to the things that we're supposed to be glorifying God for, but the fold, fallow, and plow, these are all man-made things. This is what man does when he busts out the the bobtail horse and has it pulling the plow. The folding and the fallowing, so to let something fallow means to let it rest, okay? And then the plowing is to make it active because you're going to be planting. So notice all the oppositions that are there. And all, okay, all trades their gear and tackle and trim. What do we have here? Polysynde. And what's polysynde do for us? So this is the items in a series. So gear, tackle, and trim. And of course you've got the delicious alliteration here of the T's. But polysynde is, instead of separating elements in a series with commas and a terminal conjunction, it separates them with the conjunction. And what that does is it draws it out. And its opposite, of course, asynde, separating things with commas, speeds it up. All right? Which is what's happening down here in the bottom. Okay, so once we get down to the this quatrain plus the tail piece, all, so here we are with the all here, that's playing together. the anaphora of 4 skies and 4 moles, right? Anaphora. What does that mean? Question. Okay, so this is an example of anaphora also. Right? All things counter, original, spare, strange. So counter meaning, not regular, as in contrary. So look at the oppositions he's playing. Out of the ordinary, original, okay? Spare or rare, strange, all these things that he finds are marvelous. Whatever is fickle. Now look what happened right here. Fickle. Fickleness is not a physical attribute, describing someone's, either the markings on a cow or on a fish. This now is, when you're talking about fickle, you're talking about creating. Fickleness refers to a change of mind. And it's often, and maybe even frequently. Okay? All right, good. Freckled. Notice the image echo of the freckling and the stippling. So these things are playing together, right? Who knows how? Now, this right here, this mid, so on one hand, it functions as a rhetorical question. Because nobody knows except for God. So it's a rhetorical question, but it's also another rhetorical device, and that's called ecphonesis. Ecphonesis, E-C-P-H-O-N-E-S-I-S. You're going to probably want to write that down, because I'm going to ask, more than likely, about that particular interjection there, because it also serves as an interjection of sorts, okay? And then, what a marvelous line we have here. Swift, slow, sweet, sour. So look at these, and he's playing these things. He's separating them with the semicolons. Swift and slow, opposites, and the sibilants of swift and slow. Sweet and sour, the sibilants there, but we also have the opposites of these taste elements. So now here we go we have the kinesthetic image of swift and slow. Now we have the gustatory image. Right? Swift and slow is kinesthetic. Yep. And then a dazzle dim. And so then we have the visual. So in that one line, with all that beautiful sibilance, the sound, look what we've got. We've got the auditory image of the language of the line. We've got the kinesthetic image of the swiftness and slowness, the gustatory of the sweet and sour, and the visual of a dazzle and dim. The only thing we don't have in here is an olfactory image. So I might ask you a question there. In that line, what's missing? Which of the senses is missing? Okay. Tactility too, but okay. So here we go. Now we're rolling to the end. He fathers forth. The alliteration of the F's there, whose beauty is past change. He fathers forth. Okay, so God the Father. So in fathering forth, he is, he's the one that generates these things, yes? Whose beauty, the beauty he creates, is past change. In other words, it's eternal. Okay, past change. The eternal beauty of God and his creation. And then here in the tailpiece, the exhortation to praise him. So if this is all a prayer and it ends with this, then this is, of course, the way it should be. Okay. All right, that's all I've got on this poem. I hope you enjoyed that. This beautiful example of a curtal sonnet. And See you for our next lesson.